Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. We are Millennial Mom. If you don't know who is who, I'm Millennial. This is Mom.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Mom or Kay from Millennial Mom. Now, as always, before I begin, if you're not part of the family, join the family, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like, leave your comments because I love reading your comments, going back and forth to see what you have to say, and share the video. Also, we have a membership and that's available in the description box below. So let's get started. Today's episode, we're talking about Married at First Sight, Season 16, Nashville, Episode 7, Jamaican Me Crazy. Now that title alone can be about anybody, any one of these couples, because listen, there is just drama on top of drama with every one of these couples, minus one, but it looks like there's just a little bit of something that comes out in the possible only front runner on the show, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's the final day of the honeymoon before the couples are heading back to the real world. And again, there was already a lot of drama with Gina and Clint from last week's episode. So this week's episode starts with Gina in confessional. She's saying how she's upset how everything went down the day before with Clint. She says that, she couldn't get past him saying how she was unattractive, that she wasn't slender enough, and how, when they were talking, he was only talking in circles. And then she also went on to say that she doesn't think that Clint sees anything wrong with what he said to her. But when I was listening to her say that, you don't think there's anything wrong with what he was saying to you, because he kept telling her over and over again about being a ginger. Now, even if you know that or heard that being called a ginger was offensive, and even if you didn't, if someone's telling you it's offensive to them, it's offensive. The same way saying that he's used to dating athletic, slender women, someone that was possibly his preference before he came on the show, is the same thing you were saying to him, but I think maybe it's just based off of how it was said. And then again, I think there's also a double standard for men and women, how looks and appearances and all that play a part in the day-to-day social media and everything anyways. But when we see Clint, he's talking to Eris and Chris. Clint says, hey, listen, I need some help. I want to tell you what's went on. He also mentioned that he talked to Gina and he said he apologized to her. And you know what? We have seen Clint apologize to Gina multiple times, but I don't actually recall Gina apologizing to Clint. It pretty much came across from what I'm seeing. I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. What she said is what she said. She stood 10 toes down on that, right? And so then Eris asked Clint, so do you think it's the way it was said, how it was perceived? And Clint said, looking back, he could see how now what he said could be viewed as maybe demeaning and just, around the group of women, things like that. And Chris said something to confessional and to Clint too. He said, well, you know what? You're just a kind of guy that you say what you feel and you come off the cuffs. So if people have a problem with it, then that's just what it is. And again, I have to agree with what Chris said. I mean, he was being honest. Gina was being honest, but why was he getting the flack? The flack comes, in my opinion, from a woman who you never know from her past or even her current may not feel the best about herself or maybe wants to be looked at a certain way. And it could be a touchy subject. And then Clint also said, even though in the moment it came across as a rash or brash decision, that's not how he wants to go forward, because he came on this show to do this process to find someone for the rest of his life. So after that conversation, it says 2 hours later, all the couples come together for the last night's dinner and drinks together. Once again, Gina and Clint are talking about what happened, the situation before. Clint stands up within the group and says how he realizes how things didn't come across the right way and how he apologized to Gina and go on from there. Gina says to the group that yes, Clint apologized, and although you may see things on the spot, that may not necessarily be what you mean. And then Nicole speaks up and she says, well, I'm going to talk for me and for the group. If Gina's willing to give you a clean slate, so are we, and we'll go from there. And I think that it was good for Gina and Clint to talk about it, not just together, but also in front of the group. So there's no more he said, she said. Now that's out the way. The couples are talking and Gina brings up the suggestion of, so what do we rate each other, for the honeymoons, like as a couple, rate themselves. McKinley starts off, he says he knows his sense of humor and the way he's figuring things out. He's really feeling like he has room to grow, and he's hoping that Dominique will grow with him as well. So he gives their relationship a 7.5, and Dominique agrees. And I'm thinking, wow, they rated that like really high, a 7.5. All that awkwardness? Okay. And then Chris says things are better than expected. He gives an 8.2. Nicole says, oh my God, I was going to say the same thing. No, really? I was going to say the same thing. And she said that, and they both agreed with their daily lives, they know right now they're comfortable, but when they get to the real world, things will probably change. She says as far as the marriage concerned, she feels that it's a 10, but day to day as a couple, she's going to agree with the 8.2. And when you get to Shaquille and Kirsten says that she now feels like that the physical and the emotional attraction is there, and they have a lot of things in common. I'm thinking, when is the physical and emotional attraction there? I mean, unfortunately for her and their scenes going forward, what happened at the after party, what Shaquille said, kind of like spoiled it for me. I'm not sure about the rest of y'all too, but it spoiled it for me. So we'll just have to roll the punches of how it's taped now. She gives it a 7, and Shaquille also gives it a 7 as well. And then Gina says, well, she goes, for her, a lot of things have transpired, but she's pleased where things are now. And she says they're a solid 5. And she says she's feeling her heart there, it's just a bunch of halvesies. So we're at a 5. I'm thinking a 5. I don't even know how you're even on the scale. Just because you decide to get on the same page, I mean, you might be a 0.5, but that's just me outside looking in. And then Clint says he's relieved to hear that, and he would actually give it a 5.5. I'm thinking, how? Where do they see this at? But then again, I'm not there every day. Eris and Jasmine says she's feel good. There's been a few hiccups along the road. She's brought up Eris has never been in love situation. He's 39, so it's not really making her feel comfortable. But hey, maybe he's been holding out for the right one, and she's here now, so maybe he could, maybe love her. So even though she has reservations and she's not faulting him about never being in love before, going forward, she said she's between a 7.5 and an 8. Eris says he's a 7. Now, the look that Shaquille gave and the look that Chris gave, they were looking like 8, because Shaded Production showed the day before when Eris said he wasn't really attracted to Jasmine, and he gave her a 4. So they're not sure why he's not being honest, excuse me. And even in confessional, Chris said that he thinks that Jasmine's ready to be a wife, but Eris isn't ready to be a husband, and that's telling. So now it's the next morning. We start back in confessional. Eris is out having his me time, because we learned that's what he has to do every day, his me time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. He went to work out, and he's on his way back to the room to have breakfast and pack to come home. He's telling production he's just not as attracted to Jasmine as he was hoping he would be, but he hopes that they will end up being on a good note going forward. So, why didn't he say that the night before, even to Jasmine personally, instead of raking her high than normal? So maybe he was trying to save face. Maybe he didn't want another Clint situation. And then when we see Dominique and McKinley, she doesn't want him to do things just because he's doing them for her. She really wants him to open up and be adventurous, do things because that's what you want to do. Try new things. Just try new things. Dominique says sometimes she feels like she's his coach, trying to encourage him to come along and, come on, let's do this. Hurry up. Let's go. But then McKinley said, his nature is to normally be funny, to kind of be the class clown. And I actually said that in my review last week, I believe, that I felt that McKinley was like the class clown type. He's always jokey, and Dominic don't know if he's being serious all the time. So yeah, I think that's his way of his own coping mechanism. But in confessional, McKinley said maybe he set the bar too high and it's starting to get awkward now. To Chris and Nicole. Now, Chris is sitting outside crying his eyes out. And Nicole's asking him what's wrong. Well, it turns out that the place that they're moving into, they have a 2-dog limit. And Chris has 2 dogs to Nicole's 1. And so they're definitely bringing Nicole's dog, but he has to make a decision on his dogs. Now, what I'm getting this from Chris is his dogs are a big support in his life. So I would consider them support animals. Like they need him, he needs them, and he just can't be away from them for that long. It breaks his heart to even like put them in a kennel or something like that for a very long time. Like he said, the dogs have separation anxiety. He also said he realizes that people will say, oh, well, you know, they're just dogs, but to him it's more. And some people really feel that way about their animals. They really do need it for support for whatever they're going through and, you know, to get through in life, or whether it be mental, emotional, or whatever they have their dogs for, animals. And that's just what it is. Nicole did something I thought was very, very nice. She told Chris that, you know what, we'll figure it out. I don't have the answer or the solutions right now, but we will figure it out together. So after she talked to Chris, she FaceTimed her dad, told her dad the situation about what was going on, and would he mind like switching the dogs out. You know, you have her dog one weekend, one of his dogs the next weekend, you know, rotate the dogs so that at least all the dogs will have time in the new place together, and also to get acquainted, to know each other. And the dad said yes. So I really thought Nicole went out of her way and was very admirable for what she did for Chris. And when she told him about it, he was overwhelmed. And I don't know, I'm glad they were able to reach a common ground for that. So back to Jasmine and Eris. So Eris is back in the room from his workout. They're having breakfast. Eris is saying to Jasmine he feels awkward about the rating from last night. He says he felt the shift in the room. He's been beating himself up, trying to figure out what's wrong. Is he taking the right approach with things? And he just didn't know, like, if he was doing the right thing going forward. And so Jasmine is saying she understands. She's willing to give him grace. This is a process that they both got into, and it's going to take time to get to know each other, things, how they're going in real life, and just to see how they mesh. Then Eris dropped a bomb to Jasmine and said, well, it also kind of feels like this is a friend vibe going on. In confessionals, Jasmine says she is not trying to be nobody's friend. She's trying to be somebody's wife. I heard that, girl. Now the couples have finally made it back home, and they're moving into their new apartments together right off the first night. Now this is the first time I've seen them move in like right away when they first land, because normally what they do is they land, they go to their own places, they have each other come look at their own places, they get their stuff, and then they move in. But this time it's different. So we're gonna start back with Jasmine and Eris again. So as they walk in the apartment, I mean, I think they're all nice, and they have things from their wedding, pictures, and just different little mementos. Eris has noticed these things. He's like, you know what? There's like too much stuff in here, like too much matchy. So clearly, Eris is bothered by the wedding stuff. I mean, they have on husband, wife shirts, or hubby, wifey shirts. They have matching luggage. They got matching hats, their wedding pictures, everything. So I guess it's too much. It's overwhelming for him right now. And so as they're looking around the place, Eris is, to me, treating Jasmine as if this is not his wife, but more of a roommate. He's telling her, listen, I just want you don't touch the top drawer. I want these drawers on the left. Don't put your shoes on, leave them at the door. Even our guests and our friends will know, leave your shoes at the door. All these different little things. And Jasmine has also noticed like how bossy he's being. So while they're eating dinner, they're still talking about the day and the honeymoon and how they think things were going. Eris is asking her, so what would you do different from the honeymoon, or just the day-to-day? So Jasmine is giving her reasons of what she was looking forward to and what, you know, could possibly change. And so when she's looking for a response from Eris, he's eating whatever he's eating. He talks to her with his mouth full and said, what? I didn't hear you. Excuse me? You just asked me a question like 30 seconds ago, and now I'm literally standing right here and you don't hear me? Oh no. Nashville, we have a problem. Moving to Shaquille and Kirsten, there's conversation about who's the cleanest, How do they organize their clothes? Who's gonna wash? They talk about living with intentions and growing from there. So it was a really quick scene. We didn't see too much from them. Then when we get to Dominique and McKinley, they're trying, in my opinion, to be more comfortable around each other. They talk about what they expect to living with each other. Dom thinks that things will be okay. Again, I just see nothing but awkwardness. So moving to Nicole and Chris, they just seem to be settling in with everything. They both like the space they're in. Of course, they're talking about having their deeper conversations as usual, like if they get upset, to work it out. He don't like drama, he don't like the mess, and just, he just wants to, if there's a problem, let me know. And Nicole is saying the same thing as well. But also too, when they were talking, Nicole said to Chris, if it was decision day, would you say maybe? Chris says, yeah, I could see myself saying maybe. And then Nicole says, well, if it was decision day, would you see yourself saying yes? He goes, yeah, I could see myself saying yes. And then Nicole dropped the bomb. She says, well, do you love me? Chris said, no, not yet. I like you. Nicole said, I don't love you either, but I like you too. I'm thinking, yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Because that's the second time that you mentioned it to Chris. Because can you imagine if Chris said, yeah, I love you, what she would say? I think she would jump on that because she already said that she felt their marriage was already a 10. So maybe Nicole's already catching those feelings of love. So now as we move to Gina and Clint, so far, they're getting along. They're in their place. They're talking about already what they want to do. Clint says, you know what, let's go ahead and get some friends together. He said he want to have some tacos and margaritas, just get everyone together. Gina's okay with that. And then the conversation comes up. Clint asked her, so what are you going to do about the dog? The dog's name is Hank. She goes, oh, well, Hank could either stay here. I mean, he's not a baby no more, so he's not chewing on stuff. Or he could stay with you, but he can't come to salon with me. I'm thinking, so you really going to trust Clint to be with your dog all day? But Clint said he likes dogs. He's always loved them. So it'll be good times just to be around an animal again. Now, moving to the next morning, that's when we see a few couples go see each other's places and get some things for the new apartment. We start off with Dominique McKinley. She says his living situation doesn't give her security. Because if you remember, McKinley said that he moved from another state to live in his friend's family's basement. So that's where he's been. So he just, that's his space. He don't have his own spot. And Dominique says she's used to having a man who's established with his own place, just what a man should have at a certain age. And that's what she's used to, that type of stability. So when they get to the friend's house and go down to the basement, Dominique says, so which of this is yours? He was like, none of it is mine. And Dominique's looking around like, well, I can't judge you on anything that's not yours. So he leads her into the room where he sleeps. I mean, it's a nice little quaint room with the bed. It's nice and neat, little pictures on the wall of his family. And again, Dominique's just looking around like, I can't do this. And again, to me, that's where the awkwardness comes in at. So after he gets his things, they get back in the car to go back maybe to her apartment. I guess we'll see it next week, or her house or whatever. She's telling McKinley that she doesn't feel secure because of him moving back and forth. He don't have a stable place to live, and she doesn't want to move from Nashville. So if he's not comfortable staying there because he don't have any roots there, like what will they do going forward? And McKinley says he understands the situation and he was upfront and honest about his living situation. And you know what? He clearly told the experts about his living situation. So I'm thinking, did he tell Dominique the same things he told the experts before he came on the show? Or is he telling Dominique when they were on the honeymoon about his living situation? So either way, it's not stable. And that's the problem Dominique has outside of his joking all the time. And then finally, Jasmine and Eris again. So Eris is already being uptight about Eris coming into his house. He doesn't seem like he really wants her there. He's saying before they get in that he hopes that she doesn't go looking in drawers and finding his sex toys or anything else he got in there. But hey, who knows if she does? And if she does, it is what it is. So inside his house, the first thing he shows her is his gym. And then he shows his man cave, then his room. I have to say one thing about Eris, that he's nice and neat. So that is definitely a plus. And it's just the point of Eris just being uptight. In my opinion, he's very uptight. And Eris showed Jasmine a picture frame with the obituary of his dad. And then we also learned that 2 days later, his uncle passed away. So it was like a double funeral, he said. And this happened at the age of 11. And in my opinion, I think that shaped Eris into maybe not having love or finding love from a woman. I think maybe because he's scared to like lose somebody from possibly, in my opinion, the PTSD he had at a very young age. But I think you could have that from any age. It doesn't have to be young, it could be older or who knows, whatever age. It just across the board that maybe he's just afraid of love. So I think that's possibly the issue with them. Now, that was the end of this week's episode. It didn't really give too much. So, but next week always looks like it's a better episode. But what we do see is Pastor Cal is finally back. And guess what? He's talking to Gina and Clint and Dominic McKinley. Well, apparently Gina and Clint never formally moved in together. And Pastor Cal is asking her why, like, what do you think is going on? He even gives the reference. And then Dominique is saying that she doesn't know if she can continue on with McKinley because she's just not feeling the comfort or the vibes. And so we don't actually see who Pastor Cal says. So, it comes down to this. Do you want to stay married or get divorced? I mean, it looked like it was to Gina and Clint, but technically it could be to both of them. So we'll have to wait till then. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, leave your comments, and share the video. And until next week, live simply, be grateful.